Maria and Daniel had everything money could buy: cars, mansions, vacations, but the one thing they wanted most, they could not have: a child. For 15 years, Maria prayed every night, asking God if only she can have just one child. Daniel loved her deeply, supporting her through every failed treatment and disappointment. On the other side of the city, Bella lived a different life. Her father, Alan, was a hard-working man, consumed by his job, which meant he was rarely home. Bella was often left to the care of her stepmother, Marissa, and her stepsister, Janet. While Janet was spoiled and adored, treated like a princess, Bella was seen as nothing more than a servant. She spent her days cooking, cleaning, and doing every chore imaginable, while Janet got to enjoy the comforts of the home and the affection of both parents. Despite her efforts to gain her father's attention, Alan remained blind to the cruelty Bella faced, oblivious to how his wife and daughter treated her. One morning, a petty argument over breakfast escalated quickly. Janet, in one of her usual tantrums, demanded that Bella do something, and when Bella hesitated, her stepmother lashed out in fury. In a fit of rage, Marissa and Janet teamed up to throw Bella out of the house, making it clear she was no longer welcome. With nothing but a small bag containing a few clothes, desperate, she waited outside, hoping her father would help, but when he came home, he sided with his wife. Bella was left homeless. With nowhere to go, Bella wandered the streets. She begged for food, learned how to survive in the street, and trusted no one. Her heart ached for love, but she had no one to turn to. Nights were the hardest. The street's nights stretched endlessly, filled with the sharp edge of fear and vulnerability. But Bella, with her strength, learned how to endure. Days turned to weeks and months, and Bella grew hardened by the harshness of the world. One fateful night, Maria was returning home after a long evening out. The streets were empty, and the world around her seemed to be swallowed by the dark. Her driver, though usually reliable, lost control of the car as they swerved sharply to avoid something in the road. The car careened off course, its tyres screeching against the pavement before slamming into a nearby tree with a sickening crunch. The impact was jarring, and everything inside the car seemed to freeze in an instant. Maria, dazed and disoriented, found herself trapped in her seat, the seatbelt tightly restricting her movement. Her head was spinning, and her vision blurred as she struggled to comprehend what had just happened. Before she could even react, a group of thieves rushed onto the scene, drawn by the wreckage. They were quick and ruthless, grabbing anything of value: Maria's purse, the car's valuables, without a care. Their focus on looting before fleeing, as Maria remained helpless, still tangled in her seatbelt, unable to free herself. Nearby, Bella had been sleeping, in a corner of an alley, her exhaustion overcoming the dangers of the streets. But the noise of the crash jolted her awake, and despite the fear that gnawed at her, she couldn't ignore the sound of distress. Bella, still wary of the world around her, fought her hesitation and rushed toward the scene of the accident. She saw the car and the injured woman inside the wrecked vehicle, her heart racing. With a surge of adrenaline, Bella pried open the car door, disregarding her own safety. She quickly freed Maria from the seatbelt, pulling her out of the car as gently but swiftly as she could, and another man arrived, helped pull the unconscious driver out of the car. She heard a loud noise, an ominous crackling sound. Panic surged through her as she realized the car was about to explode. Bella didn't hesitate. She dragged Maria as far from the vehicle as possible, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Just as they reached a safe distance, the car exploded, in a deafening blast, the force of it knocking them both to the ground. By the time help arrived, Maria was rushed to the hospital, where doctors worked to treat her injuries. The explosion had left her bruised and battered, but nothing too serious. Bella only had few scratches. Knowing she was safe, she quietly left Maria. As the days passed and she slowly regained her strength, Maria couldn't shake the image of the mysterious girl who had saved her. Maria had never even gotten the chance to thank her properly. By the time Maria was well enough to leave the hospital, she knew one thing: she owed that girl everything. Guilt gnawed at her heart, knowing that she had no way of finding Bella, that she may never be able to repay the kindness she had been shown. The feeling of indebtedness weighed heavily on her, and she couldn't help but wonder if fate had brought Bella into her life for a reason, if she would ever have the chance to meet her again and express her gratitude. Maria vowed to search for the girl who saved her. Determined, Maria searched for Bella, asking around the streets. At night, she and her team searched the same area where the accident happened. Finally, after nights of trying, they found her. Bella was scared at first, But Maria convinced her she wasn't there to hurt her but thank her properly. She arranged to meet the next day. They sat in a cafe where Maria offered her food and gently asked about her life. Bella revealed that she was homeless but refused further help. Maria, unable to turn away, kept visiting Bella, building trust little by little. Bella began visiting Maria more often, growing attached. She opened about her past, the stepmother who threw her out, the father who abandoned her. Maria listened, heartbroken. Wanting to help, Maria offered to place Bella in an orphanage where she could go to school and have a safe place to stay. Bella hesitated but finally agreed. Maria continued to support Bella after the accident. They developed a quiet bond, an unspoken understanding between them that went beyond mere gratitude. One afternoon, during a casual conversation between them, Bella mentioned her father's name, Alan. The name struck Maria like a bolt of lightning. Alan. It couldn't be, could it? The name seemed so familiar, so painfully close to something she had buried deep inside her mind. She froze for a moment, unable to hide the shock on her face. The wheels began to turn in her head. Could it be possible that this girl was connected to her in a way she couldn't yet comprehend? She thought about when she was in hospital. A medical emergency arose. Maria needed an immediate rare blood transfusion because she falls into such rare blood group AB. Bella, without hesitation, donated her blood, not knowing it was a match. When Maria recovered, the hospital confirmed the shocking truth, that she matched the same blood type as Bella's. Maria was surprised that she matched the rarest blood type group as Bella's, when told by the doctors, but didn't think too much about it at that time. She was thinking more about how to thank her. Maria tried to steady herself, hiding the turmoil that had begun to stir within her. She couldn't let on that Bella's name, age, the same rare blood group, and now this new revelation had set off alarm bells in her mind. She ordered a DNA test, not telling Bella why. It was a decision made on impulse, driven by a strange mix of hope and uncertainty. Maria had to know the truth, but as the days went by, something inside her began to shift. A quiet realization gnawed at the edges of her thoughts. She started piecing things together. Bella's age, the rare blood match, and now the name of her father. She had the feeling that this wasn't just some random twist of fate. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but she was terrified to confront the truth. Then, the DNA test results arrived, and everything changed. When Maria saw the results, the truth hit her like a wave crashing down, leaving her breathless and shocked. Bella was her daughter. It was a truth so overwhelming, so surreal that Maria struggled to process it. The girl who had saved her life, who had been so kind and selfless, was her flesh and blood. Bella, the girl she had come to care for and protect, was the child she had once lost. Maria's mind raced as she thought back to the circumstances of her past, the heartbreak, the loss, and the years that had passed since Bella's birth. How had Bella ended up on the streets? How had she been raised? Living in such hardship, while Maria had been unaware of her existence. The emotions overwhelmed her. Maria's heart ached with regret, but also with a sense of relief that she had finally found Bella. For days, Maria sat in stunned silence, trying to come to terms with the discovery. She wanted to tell Bella everything, to explain how she had been searching for her, how she had loved her all along without even knowing it. But how could she reveal such a monumental truth? Would Bella even believe her? Would she want to have anything to do with Maria after all these years? Maria knew one thing for sure. She had a chance now. A chance to be the mother Bella never had. A chance to make up for the lost years. But first, she had to find a way to bridge the gap between them, to gain Bella's trust and share the truth, without overwhelming her. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but Maria was ready to do whatever it took to be there for the daughter she had once lost, and against all odds, had now found again. Maria couldn't keep the truth to herself any longer. She had agonized over it for days, torn between the overwhelming desire to tell Bella the truth and the fear that it might push her away forever. But as the weight of the secret continued to bear down on her, Maria knew there was no other way. She had to face Bella and tell her everything. With a deep breath, Maria asked Bella to sit down, and she didn't do it alone. Daniel, her trusted confidant, was by her side for support. "There's something I need to tell you, something I've been keeping from you," Maria began, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. Bella, her face full of curiosity and concern, nodded for her to continue. Maria hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never imagined she would find herself in this position, revealing the deepest secrets of her past to the very person she had unknowingly abandoned all those years ago. But now, in the quiet of this moment, she knew it was the only way to move forward. I know this may sound impossible to believe, but you and we're connected in ways I can't even describe. You're my daughter, Bella." The words hung in the air like a dream she hadn't dared to hope for. Bella stared at Maria in stunned silence. She blinked, as though trying to make sense of what she had just heard. "I know this is overwhelming," Maria continued, "but I need you to hear me out. You see, when I was young, I was seeing your father, Alan, in secret. My parents were strict, and I knew that if they found out, I'd be in serious trouble. So I kept everything hidden, even my pregnancy." Bella listened, her face a mixture of confusion and disbelief. Maria could feel her pulse quicken, knowing that the next part would be the hardest to say. "I gave birth to you in secret. I had help from a local nurse who assisted me quietly, and I paid her a lump sum of money to keep quiet so no one would find out. But when I looked at you, I knew I couldn't keep you. I was terrified for my future, especially for my relationship with my father. And so I made the decision I thought was best, one I regret every day. I took you to Alan. I told him that I couldn't raise you and asked him to help. I begged him to take you and raise you together." Bella's face remained still, absorbing the words, but Maria could see the slight tremble in her hands. The reality of what she was revealing to Bella was overwhelming, and she wasn't sure how her daughter would react, but she had to keep going. "Alan told me that he would take you, but he wanted us to run away together. He said we could be a family, just the three of us. But I couldn't do it. I was scared, Bella. I didn't have the strength to walk away from everything I knew, especially from my family. And then Alan told me that if I walked away from him, I would never see him or you again. He said he would tell you that your mother didn't survive the childbirth." Maria's voice broke at that last part. The guilt she had carried for all these years threatened to consume her as she spoke the words she had never dared to utter until now. "I tried to see you again, Bella. I came back, hoping that somehow I could make things right. I brought some things for you, things I thought would help you grow up knowing I cared about you. But when I got to Alan, he refused to let me see you. He had later moved away with you, and that I couldn't trace you anymore." Bella's hands were trembling. Her breath was shallow, and she looked as though she might collapse under the weight of the revelation. She had spent her entire life believing that her mother had died during childbirth, and now, here was Maria, telling her a completely different story, one that shattered everything she had known. "But why?" Bella whispered, her voice a mixture of hurt and disbelief. "Why didn't you come for me? Why didn't you try harder?" Tears welled in Maria's eyes. She had always asked herself the same question. Why didn't I try harder? The answer, though painful, was clear. "I was too afraid, Bella. I was afraid of losing everything I knew. I was afraid of what my family would do, of what my father would do. And when Alan told me that you would think I was dead, I believed him. I thought maybe it was for the best. But I was wrong. I was wrong to let him take you away from me." Bella sat in stunned silence, her eyes distant as she tried to process the truth. Every moment of her life that had been defined by loss, by the belief that she had been abandoned, was now being rewritten. Maria reached out, her voice shaking. "I never stopped thinking about you, Bella. Every day I wondered where you were, what you were doing, if you were safe. I've carried this guilt with me all these years, but I want you to know that I never wanted to leave you. I didn't want to abandon you." Bella's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't say anything at first. She was processing too much. The years of pain, the betrayal, the overwhelming realization that her entire life had been a lie. Slowly, she looked at Maria, her voice cracking as she spoke. I don't know what to say," Bella whispered. "I've spent my whole life wondering why you weren't there. And now I find out that you never left me, that my father lied to me. All this time I thought you died." Maria's heart broke as she heard the pain in Bella's voice. She reached out, her hands trembling as she gently took Bella's. "I'm so sorry, Bella. I'm so sorry for everything. But I promise you, I'll never leave you again. I'll be here for you, no matter what." For a long moment, they sat in silence, the weight of the truth settling between them. It was a heavy truth, one that would take time to fully understand and process. But in that moment, as Maria held Bella's hand, both of them knew that this was just the beginning of a journey to rebuild the relationship that had been lost for so many years. Tears streamed down Bella's face as Maria embraced her, holding her tightly as if she never wanted to let go. The weight of years of suffering, the aching loneliness, and the constant feeling of being unloved all melted away in that moment, and for the first time in her life, she allowed herself to fully feel the comfort of being held, of being cared for. Maria, too, let her tears fall freely, her heart breaking with the years she had missed, with the pain that had kept them apart. They both cried together, tears of relief and sorrow intertwined. For Bella, it was a moment of catharsis. Finally, understanding that her mother hadn't abandoned her, that the love she had so desperately yearned for had always been there, waiting for the right moment. For Maria, it was the chance to grieve for the child she had lost, and in the same breath to rejoice in the child she had found. That night, after the storm of emotions had settled, Maria and Daniel made the decision to adopt Bella officially. The paperwork was signed, and the love that had been quietly growing between them became something permanent, something real. They promised Bella a future, a home, and a family, something she had longed for her entire life. The sense of belonging that Bella had never known was now hers. In a place of warmth and safety, surrounded by people who cherished her, Bella could finally begin to heal. Maria, who had once been consumed by regret and guilt, now knew that she had a second chance, a chance to be the mother she had always wanted to be. She worked every day to show Bella that the love she had been denied for so long was now hers in abundance. Daniel, too, stepped into the role of father, embracing Bella as if she had always been part of their family. He treated her with kindness and respect, making sure that she never felt like an outsider. The love and care they gave Bella was unwavering, a foundation on which she could build her future. For Bella, it was a surreal experience. The past couldn't be erased, but it was finally behind her, and in its place, a new future began to take shape. She had a family now, and for the first time in years, Bella felt truly safe. She no longer had to rely on her own strength alone to survive. She had Maria, Daniel, and a home that was hers, no longer an outsider, but a beloved daughter and the only heiress of billionaires, with a place in the world, and a family that would never let her go. The bond between mother and daughter deepened, and as they worked through their healing together, they built a future filled with love, hope, and mutual understanding. We have come to the end of our story. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate your support. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel. It would make our day. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until then, see you in the next video.